going on, you guys? Give me a second. I'm trying to share something. I don't know what the heck I'm doing. Ryan's got me doing tech stuff, and I ain't worth the crap. All right, Ryan, I think I messed it up really good. What's going on, you guys? About 5 minutes late. Sorry, it's Ryan's fault. Wanted to talk to you about a couple of things. We'll talk about the gun ban first. By day after tomorrow, we have to file our motion to reconsider. As you guys are aware, that after the Illinois Supreme Court issued the ruling in the Calkins case on the 15th of August, the judge in Effingham County, without having a hearing on anything, just dismissed our case in totality. What was interesting about that is that the governor's office or the attorney general or any of them hadn't asked the court to dismiss the whole case. The court just kind of did it on its own without it really being in front of the court. So, so be it. It is what it is. We're going to file a motion to reconsider. What the motion to reconsider is going to say in English is that, you know, just because Calkins lost doesn't mean that we lose, because the Supreme Court said that Calkins lost because he failed to prove to the court that he or the plaintiffs in that case were what's called similarly situated. We're the same as the exempt person. So if you're going to exempt them out, you have to exempt us out, right? So you have to do a comparison of why are you like them? Because if you're like them, you have to be treated like them. And what they said in English is that Mr. Calkins, sorry, I'm eating my ice cream. It's gone now. Mr. Calkins did not meet his burden of proof. Those are Yasos, by the way. They're really good. And they're only 100 calories. Thank you. Sorry about that. Mr. Calkins didn't prove to the court that he was the same as some of the exempt persons. Does it make sense? So what can we do about that? We have to convince the court, either this court at the trial level or the appellate court or maybe even the Supreme Court. We have to convince them that we are no different than the exempt persons. In some fashion, we have to prove that, okay? So there's a couple of different ways to do that. Now, keep in mind, we were trying to engage in discovery when our case got dismissed, which was always the plan of the governor's office and the attorney general's office. As you're aware, they wanted to use the Calkins case to get a ruling in their favor and come back and then try to dismiss our case without giving us the chance to do discovery. And to that extent, so far, they've been successful. So our job is to get back in front of the court and say, wait a second, we still get a bite at the apple. Let us do discovery. Well, we got to have a little bit of something to get us in the door. So that's what we have. And I'm going to kind of explain to you what we got, because it's no secret. You know, sometimes some of you guys say, well, Tom, are you telling them what we're doing? I already know what we're doing, right? There's no secrets in a courtroom, and they can't stop us from doing what we're doing. So there's one of the plaintiffs in our case. His name is Kirk Allen from the Edgar County Watchdogs, who sent a FOIA request here a little while back. And that FOIA request asked for some information from the Illinois Department of Corrections about prison wardens. As you're all aware, prison wardens are a specific category of exempt persons. So, and according to, again, the governor and the attorney general and all them, well, the reason that they're exempt and we give them special treatment is because of their specific and specified training with these types of weapons, right? These specific types of weapons that have been banned. And you guys get all frazzled up when I use the term assault weapon. You know what I mean, right? So they have specific training in these assault weapons. And since they have that, they're able to be exempted out. Okay. So what we did through Mr. Allen is we sent a FOIA request. A FOIA request and said, give us all the training records for prison wardens. I got them right here. All of the training records for 22. Remember that word or that number. 22 prison wardens. Here they are, and it's public record. I'm not showing you people's private information here. And if you look, you can see in there every one of the prison wardens, according to the Illinois Department of Corrections, what location they're at, when they were appointed to this position, what type of training do they have and when, etc. There's 22 of them. Let's just pick the first one, for example. Again, I'm just picking a person's name. Joliet is the location. Dr. Catherine Larry. She's a warden. She was appointed on 2/16/2020. Her last training was 3/1 of 23. She was trained on a handgun. Now, if you look at the documents here, again, that I have for all of them, she's trained on a 9mm pistol with a 4-inch barrel. Training on the banned type of weapons? 0. No training whatsoever on an AR platform. The assault weapons. Go through all 22 of them. I keep picking right back up. All 22 prison wardens who have been exempt according to the Illinois Supreme Court, because the governor and the attorney general said, oh, it's their advanced training that they have on these weapons. They don't have a damn thing. Nothing. All 22, every prison warden in the state of Illinois. Now look at their training dates here, guys, where they got their training. March 1st, 23. April 17th, 23. 7/10/23. That's all when? That's all after this law was passed in January, right? It's all after it was passed. So even after they passed the law and said all of these prison wardens are exempt, and they're all exempt because of their specialized training with these types of weapons, they go get training with a 9mm handgun. They don't have any training with these weapons. Absolutely ridiculous. Why is that important? It's important because we need to provide some amount of evidence to the court that we, as just citizens who are lawfully able to have a weapon, are similarly situated to these persons as it relates to the banned weapons. So as it relates to a banned weapon, we can assume a citizen that just has a FOID card, don't have a FOID card, but they're lawfully able to own a weapon because they're not a convicted felon, etc. We just say, what training do they have with an AR platform that's in front of the court? Nothing. We're okay with that. Nothing. Now, maybe some do. We know some do, but we don't worry about that in this conversation. What do prison wardens have for training on the banned weapons? Nothing. So are exactly every one of the people in this state, every citizen in this state that's otherwise lawfully able to own and possess a weapon, is exactly similarly situated to these 22 prison wardens because they don't have any training whatsoever. And it's documented right here, right? That's how we got to try to get back in front of the court. Okay, that's how we got to get back in front of the court and go, wait a second. Calkins lost because he failed to show that they were similarly situated to any of the exempt categories that the governor says has specialized training in all of the banned weapons. They had nothing to prove that. We've got at least enough documentation to say that's BS. They don't have the training, right? This whole group, there's 7 categories. Prison wardens were one of 7. You get into the other categories, again, if we can get in and do more work, we're going to find the same thing. Most law enforcement, we know, are trained with a handgun and or a shotgun. Most of them are not trained in AR platforms. Because why? They don't use them. Right? They're not on SWAT. They're not on special teams. They're just, again, say a patrol cop, or again, you get in the county where I'm at around here, in the smaller counties, they're all got handguns. They all got, many times shotguns. They're not walking around with AR-15 platforms. So they're not trained in them because they don't need to be trained in anything they're not going to use. So I guarantee you, I know I don't have the evidence yet because they've been keeping us out of the evidence. They don't want us in the evidence, guys. That a lot of law enforcement don't have any training as it relates to the banned weapons. And if you don't have training as it relates to the banned weapons, then you're the same as every other citizen in this state. Being trained on a handgun, I have a concealed carry. I'm trained on a handgun. I'm not in this case, as you know. I'm also a certified firearm safety instructor for the state of Illinois. I teach kids firearm safety, right? I guarantee you with 100% certainty, I'm likely more qualified from a training perspective than these 22 prison wardens, right? Think about all of our men and women in uniform. We have, I think, 600, give or take, retired military in this case, who are trained on, guess what they're trained on? They're actually trained on real assault weapons, not the pretend ones like we as citizens own, right? They're trained on fully automatic M4s, M16s, etc. But since they're retired, they're not trained adequately as compared to 22 prison wardens. Now, if you read these documents, Benjamin, you're right. I know there's a lot of patrol officers that are, but they don't have to be. There's a lot that aren't, right? If you read through these 22 reports of these, the training that they have, you can tell if you know a lot about firearms. And again, I've been shooting them for 50 years. That many of these prison wardens, they're not very, astute with weapons. They do a lot of what's called slapping the trigger. You guys know what slapping the trigger is. That means you haven't had a weapon in your hand very much, right? A lot of them are, doing other things, and you can tell they just don't have a lot of experience with firearms. And I'm being disrespectful to them other than to say, you're not trained on AR platforms at all, and you're probably not well trained with weapons in general. But yet you made the exempt status because of your specialized training. It's complete a bunch of crap, you guys. And so I have this documentation to let them, to go back, and we're going to file it tomorrow, a motion to reconsider to the trial court saying, Judge, with all due respect, sir, you made a mistake. You shouldn't have dismissed our case because we have the ability to prove or attempt to prove that we're, all of us or many of us, when I say us, not me, I'm not in the case, are similarly situated to some of these exempt categories. The prison wardens are the best ones, right? It's the best category. All 22 of them got no freaking training whatsoever. And not only they didn't have any before this law passed, and after the law passed, they don't have any, right? In my professional opinion, absolutely unconstitutional from a state court equal protection perspective, because we're similarly situated as citizens to these 22 people, right? To them, what's training with a 4-inch Glock 9mm have to do with having the ability to go buy all the AR 50 caliber you want? I mean, it doesn't even make any sense, you guys. Does that make sense? So that's what we're working on with the assault weapons ban. Again, it has to be filed day after tomorrow. I'm going to file it tomorrow. We've been working on, the reason we hadn't filed it yet is we have this. Okay? We have this. Ryan's going to send an email out to you guys because I think, was it Kristen threw it up there? I'm going to throw it in for now, Kristen, because I think at some point it become relevant, but you're going to get an email if you're in this case. You're going to get an email real soon to answer a question if you're a concealed carry holder and when you got your training on conceal and carry. Okay. I don't have to have everybody in our case to answer that question by then, but I just want to give the judge a little bit of flavor. I mean, to me, the issue with no training on, because keep in mind, Kristen, the training that the court's talking about is specialized training with these particular types of weapons, right? With these, because if you actually read what the governor wrote in our case, they actually told the court, the lawyer did, and again, I'm not going to disrespect my colleague, he's in there telling them what the governor and the attorney general and they told him. He actually went into the courtroom in Effingham and said the reason that these folks are exempt is because they have specialized training in the banned weapons. Okay? I think it's on page 16. Where did it go? Find it here. Yep. There it is. They have specialized training in the banned weapons. That's why they're exempt. Well, these 22 people don't have any of that. So again, that was a complete misstatement to the courts. That's it with the gun stuff, guys. It should make sense. Melissa said I don't get emails from Ryan. We have to send them out, Melissa, in a very large fashion. So sometimes watch your spam or your junk mail, but you know, they'll go out to everybody at once. And again, if I don't catch everybody right now that responds to say, you know, yes, we are, you know, have a conceal and carry, it's not going to alter the outcome of what we're dealing with right now on an individual basis. It doesn't work that way. Okay. So that covers that. There's something else I've been wanting to talk to you guys about. I mean, it's more, I've been working on this a lot, and it has to do with our beloved state of Illinois. And in some fashion has to do with this gun issue that we're talking about. Just so bear with me a little bit, if you guys could. Give me, if you don't mind, 10 minutes of your time. In Illinois, we're dealing with this gun weapon ban. Not that long ago, we were dealing with COVID mandates, dealing with the cashless bail, whatever you want to call it, Safety Act. What do all of those things have in common? What do they have in common? You know what they have in common? Hello, Ronnie Quinn. What they have in common is that we have a legislature in Illinois that's run by Democrats and do whatever the hell they want, right? They do whatever they want. That is what we have in Illinois. That's what they have in New York, kind of. That's what they have in California. That's what they have in other states. But here in Illinois, it's where we live. That's what we got. Our legislature does whatever the hell they want. So what do we do about that? We can sit here and you guys can listen to Tom talk about the law all the time and how what they're doing is wrong. What does it change? Sometimes we win, sometimes we don't. But how do we really change it, right? We got to win freaking elections in Illinois. How do we win elections? I was doing a little presentation the other day with people. That's what I spend again. When I'm not working on these things for you guys, and I'm not working on my other clients' cases, I'm trying to figure out one thing. How do we win elections in Illinois, right? I don't care about winning an election in Illinois. For me, how do we win elections with Republican candidates that are inclined to not do this stupid crap that we're dealing with across the state? That's what I find right now in my life to be important. Now, there are other people that, for their own good reasons, they find it to be more important to talk about national politics. And that's okay. You can talk about, U.S. Senate, U.S. House. What about hold on, let me read that one. That's a good question, Johnny. I'll get back to that later. Or even the presidential election. We all of years when we as people were governed by kings, always looking at that leadership structure was important. So we find ourselves as citizens of this nation spending a lot of energy on the presidential race. Is it important? Absolutely, it's important. But ask yourself over the last few years, dealing with COVID, who impacted your life more? President or the governor? And a governor that had a state legislature that let him do whatever the hell he wanted. Who impacted your life more? How about your local politics, right? Your health department, stuff like that. Who impacted your life more? Your local politics impacts your life more, even though a lot of times we get all amped up about the big politics. So that's what I've been spending my time on, is state house races and state senate races. And you get some of these little chirping birds out there. They want to talk about that, about the presidential race. Why isn't Tom talking about the presidential race? I know two things to be true about the presidential race as I sit in my chair today. President Donald Trump's going to win the primary in the state of Illinois. And if you're a Trump supporter, that's great. If you're one of the other one supporters, think about what you want. President Trump's going to win in Illinois. And you know what else I know to be true? President Trump's not going to win the general election in Illinois. A Democrat's going to win the election in Illinois. There's nothing I can do about that. There's nothing you can do about that today or anytime between now and 2024. Okay? What can and what do I work on? I work on state stuff. I want to get people elected to the state Senate. I want to get people elected to the state House of Representatives. Because in the short term, if we can start winning some of those elections, maybe we can start doing some good for the people of Illinois. Okay. That's what I'm focusing on. So if you don't hear me talking about national politics and about the presidential race, it's not that I don't care. Of course I care. Of course I have an opinion. But it's because I'm prioritizing things on that I think we can have a real impact on. If you see me and you have seen me at the debate in Milwaukee, go there with people, because, you know, I was born, I'm a grassroots person and I will die a grassroots person. But don't think for a second that we as the grassroots people, which is the most important part of our political system, we don't have to find a way to in some fashion work with those that aren't. Because if we don't and we just keep fighting with each other, you know who wins? Pritzker. He wins, right? And I catch a lot of hell because I spend time with my friend Richard Porter. Because Richard is a rhino, according to people. And it pisses me off. Because you know what? Guess what? Richard and I don't agree on many things. But you know what we do agree on? That we don't like Pritzker being the governor. Now, his idea who should be governor, mine might not always be the same, but that's okay. Remember what President Reagan said, if we can agree 80% of the time with our Republican colleagues, then that's probably a good thing. So I get tired of hearing that, right? And I'm sick and tired of hearing it from these little carnival barkers that don't care anything about winning elections. All they care about is being divisive, and they think they're grassroots. I'm sorry, guys. If you drive an Audi and you live in a fancy neighborhood in the suburbs of Chicago, you ain't grassroots. You can pretend to be all you want, but you ain't. Grassroots people are the people that know what it's like to go from paycheck to paycheck. They've stood in the free cheese line sometimes in their life, which I have. And they're willing to go out and walk the streets and do what it takes, and their families have to allow them to do that when they're otherwise maybe not working, earning money that they need for their families. That's what grassroots is all about. There's nothing in it for the grassroots people but to pursue what they believe. So don't sit in your Audi in your fancy house in a $500,000 or $1 million subdivision and tell Tom DeVore you're grassroots. I don't want to hear that crap, right? And so when you see me going across the state or the nation talking to everyone, I sit down and talk to Don Tracy, who's the chairman of the Illinois GOP. You're damn right I will, if I think that helps Illinois win elections. I'm not so sure it will, but I'll give it a shot. I'm not going to sit in my office on social media pounding on people unnecessarily because it might get somebody clicks or make somebody feel good. Okay? So that's what I'm working on. That's what I'm trying to do. Okay? And if people don't like that, then I'm sorry, you don't like that. I told somebody the other day, show me how we as grassroots Republicans can win elections in Illinois. And to do that, we got to proverbially, and this is being philosophical, don't say, oh, Tom's going to be mean, burn the establishment structure to the ground. Give me the flame torch and just get out of my way, because I'll do it. But guess what, guys? It's not going to work that way. It's not going to work that way. We have to, even if we don't always like each other, figure out how to come up with a solution that we're all headed in the same direction. I don't necessarily know all the answers. I don't know a lot of the answers. I've always told you guys, people know the answers, but we've got to do it. We got to figure out how to register new voters that haven't voted before. We got to figure out how to do early and mail-in ballots to make sure that our like-minded citizens actually go and vote. We got to get all those things done. We can't do it by ourselves as a grassroots. Establishment can't do it by themselves, right? Neither one can. So is there some way that we can try to figure that out? God, I hope so. Or the Democrats are going to control this state forever, which is what I don't want. So there's races in the North right now, Senate and House races, that we might be able to win as Republicans, guys. You know what I'm saying? Somebody said no mail-in ballots. Ed, if you don't want to do mail-in ballots, then you just better move, brother, because you're not going to win a race in Illinois if you don't do it. If you don't like it, then take control of the House and the Senate and do away with the law. But until that happens, my friend, you're stuck with it, okay? So that's, again, what we're working. If you got ideas of how we can do these things, by all means, send me a message or call me and tell me how much time you have to commit to whatever you believe to be helpful. How much time you got? I don't want to just always talk about conceptual ideas, because we all do enough of that. What do you want to do? How much time you got? How many streets can you go walk? How many doors can you knock on? Right? That's what we're trying to work on, you guys. Okay? That's what we're trying to work on, because the Democrats are going to keep winning if we don't do that. And anybody that wants to help do that, anybody, I don't care, grassroots, rich, poor, establishment, if you want to figure out how to win an election, I want to talk to you. If you just want to bark and you want to holler at the other guy because he's not conservative enough, or he's not grassroots enough, or he's not, because the establishment does it too, you guys. When I go and I talk to them and they want to start barking at the grassroots, I'm the first one to go, nah, you stop that crap, because it's not helpful. We all got to figure out how to row in the right direction. You know what I'm saying? So I wanted to tell you about that. And you're not going to see me getting in the midst of the presidential election, right? Do I have who I like? Yeah. Do you know anything about me? You probably know who it is. But why would I start talking about that and then go up into a Senate district in the north trying to get everybody to work together? And then I have people that are upset because of my views on a race that we in Illinois can't influence. It just doesn't make any sense. And I'm not going to do it just to make some people feel good. If they don't like it, again, I'm repeating myself. I don't care. And if that means I can't help people in Illinois win elections, then it just have to be the way that it is. But I'd ask you to do that as we're moving forward here, because even we've got a lot of time left to try to help win some of these races in 24. What do you want to focus your energy on? If you want to focus your energy on some races in Illinois that we might be able to win, send me a message, please. Email me and tell me where you live in the state and that you're actually willing to help. Because if you are, I'll call you myself and tell you, let's work on it. If you just want to holler about what's going on, again, I can listen, but I can't help you. Because what's going on with President Trump and the way that they're trying to do the things to him is bullshit. It's absolute bullshit. Being prosecuted. I know that. The establishment structure in the United States, a Republican establishment that's sitting by silent and not speaking up, trying to defend President Trump because he is a Republican, is bullshit. I don't have a problem saying that, right? But that's got nothing to do with, we shouldn't be arguing about that as grassroots versus establishment. We should all be on the same page as that. But again, please, if you want to help win elections in Illinois, some Senate races and some House races, so we can start chipping away at not being vulnerable to every damn whim that Governor Pritzker wants to run through the General Assembly, send me a message and I've got something that you can work on with us. I promise you. And if you don't want to help me or the people that are helping me because I won't chime in and get all inflated and fighting about races we can't control, then with all due respect, I'm sorry, I'm not going to do that. Okay, let me see if I got any questions. Nathan? Yeah, Carla, please email Ryan, give me your name, where you live in the state, and I promise you, I would love nothing more than you to help us win these races, because that's all I care about. And I'm not running, right? I want people to run for office. I want primaries that the biggest issue that the establishment and I have together, and I'm fighting with them right now, is they want to control who makes it through the primary. It's bullshit. That's my favorite word tonight, if you can tell. Bullshit. Because you know who's best suited to determine who makes it through the primary? The people in that district. So just have a process. Yeah, I'll give you the recap, Jason, on the case in a second. So if we have a robust primary process that's fair, the people will pick who's best. Okay? The people will pick who's best. Putting your thumb on it because you think you know who's best for the people of Illinois didn't work real well for them in 2022, did it? And I don't think we should. So it has to be a fair primary process to let the best people win. But then once we get through a primary, how we win the elections, the general elections, we're fighting with the Democrats then. And that's what I'm really focused on. It's a math game, right? Because again, how do we win that election? We get more votes than they do. So let me go on here. Wendy, there's a whole process on voter cleaning. Again, we can get to all of that stuff later. If you guys are interested, and I'm not going to start going through all of the concepts of again, winning these elections. It's a lot of it. Voter integrity is a part. Cleaning voter rolls is a part. Registering new people to vote is a part. Getting people that are already registered to vote that just aren't voting enough to vote. It's a huge complex, and there's not one size fits all solution. It depends on where we're at in the state, but those are all good questions. Okay. Let's see. All right. So that's a good question, Jerry. Man, I love good questions. If the court grants the motion to reconsider, will the TRO be reinstated? I'm going to ask for that, Jerry. You're damn right. That's an excellent. Man, I like smart people. That's right. I'm going to ask them to reinstate the case and to reinstate the TRO, Jerry. Absolutely. Will I get both of them? All of it? I don't know, but I'm going to ask, sir. Damn good question. I want to speak to that, Lisa. The problem is if you say you're a Republican, you're labeled as a racist bigot. Who's labeling us? Democrats. And that's a problem, I agree. But you know what bothers me more? What bothers me more? And I'm going to give you a hypothetical. If you are a Republican and you like, I don't know, pick one of them, Mike Pence. There's a lot of Republicans that are going to say you're a rhino, right? And then there's people that President Trump, all of a sudden now you might be a racist bigot, right? Or you're a MAGA or whatever. These are Republicans doing it to each other, right? And I understand the tension that's going on in our party right now because it's not just in Illinois. It's across this nation, that tension. And I understand it. And I've got a little bit of it inside me too, because as I told you, the fact that the establishment's not defending President Trump, even if the establishment doesn't want him as the candidate, whatever, but they're not defending, I think it's bullshit. But when I go and I'm trying to have conversation, I'm willing to not make that a top priority if my goal is to try to figure out how to win elections, right? We got to win these elections. But yeah, just the fighting that goes on in our own party, it's not always necessary. Most of the time, it's not necessary, And if there's sometimes a time within our own party to have an issue, then there is a time to have that issue. Like I said, last year when the party was in Illinois was trying to control who made it through the primaries, it was bullshit. And we had an issue with that. But just fighting because, you like this particular candidate for governor or a president and you like this one, or moreover, getting upset with people because they won't proclaim who their presidential favorite is. I mean, that's the crap that I have to deal with sometimes. Tom, you won't publicly proclaim which one of the presidential candidates is your favorite. And I go, why should I do that if it's counterproductive to what I really care about, which is helping people of Illinois win elections so they're not under the rule of thumb of the Democrats? That's what's most important to me. And if I hope the people that know that say, we can respect the fact that you find that to be most important, and you're not going to jump into the middle of this battle between the Republicans of who's more conservative. It's like, I know we're all more conservative than J.B. Pritzker. That's all that should matter, guys. Let me see here. Okay, so I'm going to let it go with that. So get back to the gun case. We're going to file our motion to reconsider tomorrow. We're going to attach some documents to the motion to reconsider telling the judge you shouldn't have dismissed our case because we have the right to try to prove that we are, in fact, all or in part similar to some of these exempt persons like the, prison wardens. Prison wardens don't have any training as it comes to these banned weapons. And since they don't have any training on banned weapons, if a citizen's a law-abiding citizen otherwise able to own a weapon, they're the same. And so you can't do that. We're going to make a couple of things like that. We're going to ask Judge Jarman to reinstate our case, to reinstate the TRO, let us continue with our discovery. And if he denies our request, guys, then our next step is to go to the appellate court and say, hey, Judge Jarman made a mistake. Okay? That's what we're going to do. Once we get that filed, you'll all get it. And again, answer on the motion to reconsider, it might be 3-4 weeks, guys. Okay? It just depends. I promise you, as always, I'll keep you up to date every step of the way. As it relates to what else I talked to you guys about, send us an email if you're willing to help win elections in Illinois, right? If you want to help me and help some other people in this state, focus on 4, 5, 6, 8 state house races. I'd love to have you guys help, because we need you, because without the grassroots people helping, we're not going to win these races, right? The establishment, they can't win these races without us. Can we do it without them? I'd rather not. I'd rather have a little help from them, but we can probably get it done on our own if we need to. I've got some ideas that I'm working on, and please forgive me for the fact that I'm not going to start wading in and creating fights on the national politics right now, because I just don't think it's healthy. And again, President Trump's going to win the primary in Illinois, in my humble opinion, and President Biden's probably going to win the general election. And let's work on how we can change our state to where when we get to a presidential election still in my lifetime, maybe it'll be a Republican winning the state of Illinois. That's what really matters the most to me. Take care, guys. I'll talk to you later. I love you. Take care.